ohwihwera hwa mumbo
Mumbo FM Engowefe.
West TV, tazama ilivyo.
Dear viewers, wherever you're watching us from, this is the Morning Scoop. We are coming to you live on West TV. We are here in Bungoma and we want to look at matters budget making process. We have guests in studio today from the county government of Vihiga, representatives of the county government of Vihiga, who are coming to help us, enlighten us on what's happening, and to a large extent just understand a bit of budget making process and how are we going to raise money to finance operations of the county government. Apart from receiving the national grant, where else are we getting the money to meet, and what's our real expectations? Those are the few things we're going to look at. From now, we're going to take a whole hour talking about this, and as exciting as the conversation goes, it's going to involve you. So take your time, follow the conversation, and you can be able to take part through our social media so that we also put your thoughts into consideration in this conversation. On behalf of the director of the show, Kelvin Kibet, this is CKS. The Morning Scoop is officially on. In the studio, I have two guests. One of them is called Hilary Adolwa. He's the economic advisor to the governor. And we also have Dixon Amunga, the budget director, Vihiga County Government. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's begin. Who is the senior here? You are a senior, not big senior.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's begin. Just tell us your names.
Thank you very much for having us here. My name is Hilary Adolwa. I am the economic advisor to His Excellency the Governor of Vihiga County, Dr. Wilbur Hasula Otichilo. And personally, I'm honored to be here at West Media so that we can discuss matters budget making process.
Thank you.
Okay.
My brother, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Your names?
I'm Dixon Amunga, Director of Budget, County Government of Vihiga.
Yeah. The biggest export from Vihiga was an old man called Amunga with his guitar. You have that blood, right?
Definitely.
Good. If we give you a guitar right now, will you challenge us by proving it, or it's by faith? Okay. The spirit of the guitar. We are here. We are looking at budget making process. Before we go into the nitty-gritties of step 1, step 2, step 3, just in a nutshell. You're the economic advisor to the governor. It means after you've collected all this money, you always make that bulleted presentation saying we put this one here, we put this one here, we get this one here, we do this. Or what exactly is your role in the county government of Vihiga?
Thank you. My role as the economic advisor to the governor is basically to advise His Excellency the Governor on matters of economic, performance of the economy, budget making, revenue, ICT matters, and all those factors that we put together. And we look at the economic performance of the county in relation to the manifesto that His Excellency the Governor promised the people of Vihiga, what that we want to do and how we're going to achieve that. And therefore, for us to be able to achieve that, we need to put all these processes into, for example, a budget. Before we put it into a budget, we need to have a plan. And therefore, we ensure that we marry the manifesto of His Excellency the Governor with the county planning framework. And then now we put all these activities into our subsequent budgets from the first year to the last year, so that at the end of this term, we should have been able to deliver the promises to the people. Yeah.
My brother, in a nutshell, what's your role in the government of Vihiga?
Yeah, my role as the Director of Budget is to consolidate or coordinate the preparation of the county budget, bearing in mind that the budget is supposed to conform to certain norms or certain laws. So basically the Director of Budget is to ensure that we stick to those expectations, including the Governor's Manifesto and all the planning documents, and to make sure that we have a balanced budget at the end of the preparation, budget preparing stages. Yeah.
You know, in all wisdom, budget means we are working with money, right? And money and politics are two inseparable twins. That's where you guys could be playing a very big role. My brother, as the economic advisor,
Yes.
there are some elements to which you wish were in the budget, so that the bigger picture, the 5-year program, becomes that which you desired for the county to deliver to the people of Vihiga. On the other hand, we have the pressure from the masses.
Yes.
What people want, what people expect, what people are looking at. And the two are always in conflict. Just maybe just 5-10 seconds. How would we navigate such a scenario? Because you have to navigate it first to make His Excellency the Governor adapt it and now drive the government to a direction you are guiding.
I think the best way to navigate through these processes is to put the people at the center of the planning and the budgeting processes, whereby we involve in each and every step, and also ask them what are the priorities that as we continue to implement, what is it that they feel should be prioritized first. And then now, once we have the view and the feel of the people, then now we can go back and continue to now set the planning process. Because we may want to do roads for the people, but it is the view of the people that we do supply of medical commodities. So once we have that view of the people, then now we sit down and look at our resource envelope, and then we see how can we be able to balance the needs of the people and the plans that we intend to deliver for them. And at the same time, there are also other factors that may affect some of these planning processes, which also include the climatic conditions, the decisions of the national government. So we must at all times be able to balance, look at what is it that the national government is doing, what is it that is happening in the global world, and then now look at what is it that is happening locally. Once we are able to balance all these things, then we now advise our people that because of these reasons, we are going to be able to implement this and this and this, and then we come to an agreement. Now, this process must also involve the people's representatives, who are the MCS.
MCS generally.
Yeah. So now, once they are in agreement, then we move on with those plans.
Before the MCS agree,
Yeah.
you must present something.
Yes.
It depends on the data or information you have, right? There are economic indicators which influence the county government to come up with this finance bill that will be taken to the MCS, right? For the case of Vihiga, what are we looking at?
For the case of Vihiga, when we are preparing the budget, the most common data that we really rely on is the data about the project that we need to undertake. Those that are contained from the CIDP, the ADP, the fiscal strategy paper, and finally, because all these documents, when they were being prepared and approved, public participation was undertaken. Also, when we're now preparing now the budget itself, we also have to listen to the public about the actual projects or programs they want to be undertaken. So certainly considerations, then the national economic indicators, because we rely also on revenue, because if it is anticipated that we are likely to have revenue shortfalls, then those are clear indicators to us when we are now doing the budgeting process. Because if it is anticipated that revenues might be low, then at least we also go slow on our projections in the budgetary provisions. So we rely both on the national indicators that are usually developed by the National Treasury and also mostly the county indicators. Mostly about the counties, about the projects, ongoing projects, and those that are likely to be initiated within the little revenue space that we could be having.
There is this thing about, may I call it a ghost? You cannot really place it, but we are very happy about it. We talk about public participation. It means bringing in stakeholders from, just as you mentioned, from the county, each with their input, maybe with proposals, and the desire how they would like the money to be spent, in which sectors and areas. But then, most public participations have actually been one-sided, where you appear, you give, you tell people what you want to do. Even if they give their input, it's for the record, but not for implementation. How are stakeholders in Vihiga participating in the budget making?
You realize that, especially in the budget making process, before even the whole process starts, the CCM Finance, through the budget circular, issues a statement giving guidance on people participation in the budget making process. And that happens on 30th of August of every year. So then this then guides the people on how they will be involved and how they will participate in the process of budget making. And therefore, the people are aware that the budget making process is going to start and they need to prepare. We select people from different wards, different sub-counties, and different areas of the economy. We'll have farmers, religious leaders, youth coming on board to be able to share their views on the budget. What we normally do is once we give these presentations, the people are given an opportunity to issue their views, and these views are taken into consideration when we sit back to try and review whatever the views that they gave and how we can incorporate them in the budget. Besides that, the PFM Act provides for the formation of county budget and economic forum, which also enhances people participation in the budget making process. CBF is an entity chaired by the governor, which brings together state and non-state actors. The state actors are the county executive committee members drawn from each and every department, while the non-state actors will be the people chosen from religious groups, the Chamber of Commerce, teachers, who equal the same number of CECMs. So these people in most cases are professionals who understand what it takes to prepare budget, and they are drawn from different professions. So they give views and ensure that those views are adhered to and taken into consideration during all these processes. So once the views have been given and His Excellency the Governor himself chairs this forum, he ensures that their views have been taken into consideration, and therefore it is not an issue of just rubber stamping what the executive has brought. It is an issue of participatory involvement of each and every stakeholder, so that at the end of the day, we are serving the people. We are not working in isolation as a government. What the people want us to do, we will ensure that we do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the priority areas? How do you come to an agreement or an idea that roads will take this much and health will take this much? And what gives weight to some of the sectors that gain more money than others? One of the biggest sectors that have never gotten any money or very little money is it's called what? The Department of Culture, Youth, Gender, something like that. It goes like that, right? it gets very little money. So what makes you say that roads will take more and gender will get this?
Yeah, what we usually do is we usually do what we call ceiling setting in the county fiscal strategy paper.
Mm-hmm.
And ceilings are set to various departments, and it is these departments now, based on the programs that they really want to earmark to undertake in that particular department, that now they make allocations towards those projects, like road infrastructure. If road infrastructure under the Department of Transport and Infrastructure, within their ceiling, if upon them it's considered that it's a key priority, and based on what they put in the ADP as the rank of that road infrastructure, then you'll be able to find some colossal amount of money that has been allocated towards the road infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, these ceilings for various departments, the department we've mentioned about gender, culture, youth and sports, in the next budget, that's 2025-2026, when we shall now be doing the sector reviews and sector budget proposals, most of these ceilings are going to be changed. Depending on now, we are going to introduce an aspect about budget absorptions.
Mm-hmm.
So that aspect will be able now to help departments. Those that absorb more should be able to be given more. So that's a review that's also going to be undertaken as we go forward.
So who reviews? Is it your office or it is a collective?
It is a collective engagement guided by the county treasury through the sector working group.
Mm-hmm.
That usually happens between the month of October, November, and December.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the county assembly.
Yes.
At what stage do they come in? And what will be their role exactly?
Now, the county assembly comes in, they approve, they play a key role in the budget making process. You realize that there is what we call the budget circular issued by the CCM. Mm-hmm. He has to present that budget circular to the county assembly. After we have...
And that's in August?
That is in August.
Uh-huh.
And then now, after we have the budget circular, we have now the Department of Planning prepares what we call the annual development plans. Because now the budgeting process has to be anchored on a planning framework. So the annual development plans are also presented to the county assembly for approval. Once we have that, then we will come up with something called the county budget review outlook paper. We call it CBROP. So the CBROP, it helps to look at the performance of the budget in the previous financial year, and then now helps and guides now the formation of the new budget. The CBROP is also presented to the county assembly. Now after that, it is when we'll come to what the director was talking about, the county fiscal strategy paper. Now the fiscal strategy paper, which then now sets the ceilings for departments and also sets out the priority areas of implementation in the county. That is why now we will say the Department of Health will get the lion's share, then the Department of Education, depending on the way that we have highlighted in our CIDP, ADP, as we move downward. Now, after that, all these processes must happen from the executive to the county assembly. Then now, we now come up with the budget estimates and the appropriation bill. Now, all these things will go to the cabinet, then the cabinet approves, the CFSP, then now we develop the budget estimates. The budget estimates will be looked at between the month of October. Then now they are presented to the assembly. The assembly will now have departmental committees. So they also now retreat to their independent sectors because the sectors are the ones who come up with the budget proposals. So the assembly committees then now sit in their committees, the Committee of Health, Committee of Education, Committee of Sports, Youth and Culture, to look at the proposals and estimates that the executive has come up with. Now, all these proposals are then consolidated and presented to the budget committee, which then consolidates this and presents to the House in form of a motion. Now, this motion is debated by the county assembly, and it is then approved. Now, after it has been approved, of course, the MCS makes some various amendments to these budget proposals that the executive has come up with. And then now, once they have approved it, it is supposed to be assented to by His Excellency the Governor. So they bring the vellum to the executive. His Excellency the Governor looks at the approved budget. Now, if His Excellency the Governor is satisfied that the MCS did not make major changes on the estimates as presented to the Assembly by the Executive, he assents to the budget. Now we are, it becomes now what we call the budget, it becomes the act and the budget and also the appropriation, budget and appropriation act. But if there are major changes to the proposals from the Assembly, His Excellency the Governor will write a memorandum to the Assembly highlighting the reasons as to why he did not assent to the budget. Now the MCS will now review it. Then eventually when we have an agreement, the budget is then approved. Then now the Directorate of Budget and the Treasury ensures that this budget has been gazetted and uploaded to the Treasury now for the departments now to have authority to spend.
Spend the money as voted or as allocated.
Now, all these processes, even in the Assembly, they also have their own public participation processes that they conduct at the Assembly. You realize that they will also engage the public on about the budget process. They will also hold their public participation barazas, and they will also get views from the public on what they want to be incorporated in the budget. Yeah.
Generally, what you guys put in the budget is borrowed from what was put last, right? For example, if the county kitty is 10 million shillings, right? So you are dividing this money into all these sectors based on the 10 million shillings you had last year. So this year, when you go into the process, you have in mind that all we have is 10 million. So whatever it is, we are not going to go beyond 10 million. We just, the ceiling is 10 million. Or how does it, how do you arrive at that? Or how do you, what do you have in mind when you are trying to allocate money to the sectors? Or in your recommendations, what drives your thinking?
Yeah, we largely rely on the guidance by the National Treasury, and what my senior here has commented about the paper called the County Budget Review and Outlook paper. When we are doing that paper, when we are now reviewing, we also now have an outlook. That's the futuristic about the possible revenues that the county government is expected to receive. And that is, we usually guided also by the national government, the National Treasury, through the paper called BROP. So from the figures that they usually project at the national level, we are able now to tell that the county government of Vihiga, most likely the next coming financial year, is going to be able to get this amount of money, maybe 5.2 billion shillings towards equitable share. Then we're also able to look into our own source revenue performance and be able to tell that from our previous performances, if the trend is the way it is, then most likely the next coming financial year, we could project it to be maybe at least a particular amount of money. So using those two components now, we can be able to say that we will maybe have to have a total budget of maybe 5.6 billion shillings as now our resource envelope. Now from that aspect is when now we develop now what we call the ceilings to every department. Yeah.
So it looks like what happens last year is likely to repeat itself this year. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, to some extent.
It could be slight changes. You move this, just like there are those what national newspapers call it balancing act.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
To some extent it might be the same, like now there are some key components that remain somehow static, or they must always appear, like allocation towards compensation to employees. At least that one in every financial year, in every department, that one has to appear. But there are some aspects like a project. If a department undertook a project last financial year and it was completed, then we expect that project not to appear in the next budget. So something new now will have to come up now.
It might be higher in cost or lower.
Yeah, it might be higher in cost or lower.
When we come back, we're going to look at where do they get the money. Of course, there is the national government allocation, but what is the capacity of the Vihiga County in raising their own resources, and what are the sectors do they get this money from? In a bit, I just want to encourage you to follow this conversation on West TV. We have on YouTube, it's West TV. On Facebook, it's West TV. And on X, it's West TV_Kenya. You can also follow me at Mr. Kitui on X and Kitui Hasimiti on Facebook. We'll be back in a bit.
West TV, tazama ilivyo.
Kufuatia ile kitu ulitendea.
Sina sauti.
Sina imani na wewe hapa. Wacha leo nikuambie ukweli.
Mulamwase ino kaja kakana no mwana hungira. Na mukisha lulo yeti wewe ndio unakuja kusoma hapa kuleta maendeleo. Omwana oli wakobola akola mpapa adimai kumurwe hola siro mwana syo. Kafu.
Omusahulu owo niyo warera nano malalamishi waliwe wakomboe bandu bacha bamupa abene nyesa wenge na abene bano wikira na basi
Wewe kuendelea kunyanyasa huyu mama. No mupimira byakulya saa yote mubifuria. So ho wenye engile mujikoni ateketa. Kubela sina.
No byayire no mwenya kulya.
Singisa baholanga baryota.
Kangali chifu ndenyanga umpole bungani. Omukazi we onyala wampimira busindu mujikoni. Tenya kose bulili yongene lakini byakole bali niyo pima. Bale ndine ndahakeza kuteka mujikoni kumyaka 40.
West TV, tazama ilivyo.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on West TV. We continue with the conversation around budget making in Vihiga County. The question now is, how are we, or just a bit of those sectors which we're going to get money from? How do we determine that this sector we need to get this money from, and how much is it we're going to get this money from? Just a bit of the sectors that contribute to the revenue on county revenue collections.
Thank you. You realize that the PFM Act provides that immediately after the budget has been approved, it gives the county government 3 months that is 90 days, to come up with the finance bill. The finance bill stipulates different levies and taxes that the county government shall be able to impose on the people in the bid to collect on-source revenue. So the Department of Finance, especially the Revenue Department, through public participation and also stakeholder involvement, comes up with this finance bill, then presents it to the County Assembly for approval, then it becomes the Finance Act. Then now, after it has been approved by the Assembly and becomes the Finance Act, it is then now gives the government the authority now to collect these taxes.
So it means, before you start going to Mama Mbogas to collect money, it has to be factored in
Yes.
that what we expect from Mamboka this year is 50,000 shillings?
Yes.
Or how does it work? Because I'm trying to imagine there are sectors across the county which you guys target to raise money from.
Yes.
Just a bit of those in Vihiga. Which are those sectors?
Now, for example, what we have done in Vihiga, most of these revenue generating sectors are also split into departments. You realize that we have the Department of, for example, Trade, who have revenue streams. They collect market fees, they collect single business permits, there is aspect of rent from stalls, and bus park and all those. We also find that in the Department of Lands, we also have areas of land rates, whereby the people who live in municipalities are required to pay land rates, depending on the value and the size of their lands. There are also areas of advertisement, whereby whenever there is any company that wants to conduct any advertisement in our county, we'll also be able to come up with the charges for that. When you look at the health department, we also have charges that we impose, so that when you come to receive services in the hospitals, you are charged for various services, and this one also helps us to generate some revenue. When you look at the Department of Environment, there is also some various levies which include charges on noise pollution, sand harvesting, and issues of waste management, which also now put all together, now they form our own source revenue envelope. So once we have consolidated all this, we then now put these levies and charges now into a finance bill, and also engage the people on what they feel is the right amount that we can charge them. Of course, we propose to them that because of various reasons, which include the costs of running government and all that, we propose a particular figure. But the traders and the market people will also give us their views and tell us that because of the business performance and all that, they give us a suggestion. Then now we come at a middle ground. Then now we have the act. Now once we have the act, then now we collect. We collect using our revenue clerks, and also in Vihiga County we have a revenue system which is automated. The reason as to why we came up with this system was just to ensure we reduce the interaction of our revenue officers with cash, which may also bring issues of temptations and issues of revenue not getting into the county government coffers. Yeah, so that is what we have done.
The Bible says temptation is allowed. You can be tempted. Just don't fall in it.
Yeah, for sure.
My friend, how do we compare this year revenue projections? I'm talking about 2023, 2024, and then 2024, 2025. How do we compare? And then put that over 10-year period. How has the county been performing in terms of own revenue collection? Forget about the national government. Own revenue collection. And if you can have figures to share with us, what will be the highest amount of revenue you guys have ever collected in a year?
Yeah, maybe on the comparison, like for this year, that is 2023, 2024, against 2022, 2023. 2022, 2023, we had a target of almost 290 million. For that financial year, we were able to raise 258 million shillings. But this year, 2023, 2024, we had a target of 300 million shillings. So far, up to last month, I'm informed that they have already surpassed the target of 300 million shillings. The next year, that's 2024, 2025, we are having a target of 340 million shillings. And we will actually be able to surpass that target because of the measures that have been put in place about revenue collection. And over the last 10-year period, I have data that I can be able to share with you.
Okay.
But this year is the second year we've surpassed our revenue targets. There was a year we also, I think immediately after COVID, we were able to surpass our revenue
That's
targets.
2021.
Yeah. We were able to surpass our revenue targets also by that particular period.
Question is, why will you set targets to 300 million when other counties are setting them into billions? As in, what is it that you look at to say we are small players and those are big boys? Or do you guys compare with other counties in terms of how much do they want to raise in a year and actually work towards it?
Revenue target setting is all about trend analysis. Now, looking at our trend from 2013 to the latest, having analyzed those figures, we can be able now to project, maybe using some statistical figures or data, to be able to predict that maybe in the next coming financial year, this is the most likely revenue that we can be able to achieve. Otherwise, if it was just about arbitrary allocation of figures, then it will just be very comfortable and prudent to say that this financial year we are going to collect 1 billion shillings and we put that into the budget. But again, that also has got its own effect, because if you also set so high and you don't achieve that, remember we've already budgeted for that amount of money in the budget.
It means that unpaid bills will be higher.
So you're definitely creating pending bills if you now set unrealistic targets. Because now in the budget, the implementation will still be going on, basing on that target of maybe 1 billion shillings. At the end of the financial year, maybe you realize 300 million shillings. You'll have created a pending bill of 700 million shillings.
Yes. Question is, every time we go into the revenue collections, there are some sectors that feel that they don't need to be paid, to be paying the taxes. Some they think that they are entitled to receiving money from the government than them paying the taxes. How do you navigate such a kind of, like education? Education is supposed to be funded. How do you raise money from education?
Yeah, just like any other department. Now, if there is a revenue component or a revenue stream that falls within education that has been also been marked into the Finance Act, then it is upon also it's upon now the county treasury or that department to be able to collect that revenue. We can be able to say maybe if it is a form that's being charged, let's just say for an example, I'm not saying that's what's happening, then if there is that particular form that's supposed to be paid maybe 5 shillings, then that will be the collection of that particular point, even though there is that allocation that's going back to that particular department.
Because with like health is supposed to buy drugs, pay doctors, do all those things. But then there is also money that is supposed to come from.
Yeah, like health, in fact, it is the biggest collector of revenue. And despite making those allocations to it, they also now charge or make levies to the services that they usually provide. So even though there is an act that starting from this July 1st, they are supposed to retain 100% of that revenue they are collecting, but again, it's also important that we declare that amount of money that they're collecting, so that it's also declared as a county that this is the amount of money that came through that department, even though it was retained at that particular area.
So that you don't have additional cash going to cover the same expense that this money is meeting.
Yeah, basically, because now once you collect, you're not supposed to start spending minus budgeting for that amount of money.
Yes.
So, with the guidance of the PFM Act, when they collect, they're supposed to declare, so that at least the rebudgeting of that amount of money, they can be able now to spend as per our budget.
Okay.
So those are the guidances now that usually guide on about spending and collection of money.
You talked about rates, land rates and stuff like that. Vihiga, in general, has people who they've lived there forever. This is our land. We didn't go to town. The town came to us, right? Then, this is, my grandfather lived here. My father lived here. I'm living here. Then you're coming today and telling me that I'm supposed to pay rent for this land. And if you don't pay, it will be, as in, the punitive measures against that, right? Now, how are we communicating this to the people of Vihiga? What communication, what language are we using? Because it doesn't make sense that I'm supposed to pay land to the government, and this is our land. I have title deed. For God's sake, you see, we bought this land when I was a toddler. I saw it, but then I'm supposed to pay rent. Don't you see that doesn't make a lot of sense to most people? I want you to respond to that, because it is the same amount that we need as a government, number one. Number two, there are things that we have.
Yeah.
Like we have livestock and other things we have that we use in our daily lives as residents of Vihiga. Okay? What are those that we're supposed to pay rates for, and what are which ones are exempted?
Okay, now on the issue of land rates, you realize that specifically for the county government of Vihiga, we are trying to come up with a new valuation rule now, which will now help us to be able to come up with specific rates for various plots depending on their value. We have not been doing very well in terms of collection of the land rates because of the lack of, or the lack of a new valuation rule. The process of coming up with this valuation rule has been completed, and it is now at the county assembly, waiting for also public participation, and then now it will be approved. The people have been engaged and have been informed the reasons as to why we collect these rates, because there are services that the county government offers in terms of cleanliness, in terms of provision of water, and also road maintenance, that then when we collect these land rates, it helps us to also to serve them. So by making the people aware that and ensuring that these services are available, the people become willing to be able to pay these rates. So the aspect of service delivery and revenue collection go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Even when you look at, for example, now the markets, we charge market fees for our market, those who vend goods. But you see now, we cannot continue to charge them when they are working in a dirty environment.
Yeah.
So the moment they see us putting a lot of effort in ensuring that our working environment is clean, we collect garbage, and ensure that the place is well lit, they will willingly pay those rates. So as part of our civic engagement, we try to tell these people that if you don't pay these rates, we may lack fuel to be able to facilitate the vehicles that will be able to carry this garbage to where it is supposed to be disposed. So probably the main thing that creates resistance in terms of the paying of rates and taxes to the county government is the lack of service delivery. So we ensure that we marry the two, and the people just comply. So for the land rates, now we expect once we have our valuation rule, our people shall be communicated to on what rates they are expected to pay.
Okay.
And then now with reasons as to why they are paying those rates. And then now we expect them now to start complying and paying what they're supposed to pay. Once that is done, we expect our revenue to shoot, because that is a revenue stream that has not been exploited very well in our county. So moving forward, just maybe to answer to the question that you asked my colleague as to why we have continued to set ourselves very small targets, it is because in our finance bill we have had various revenue streams that have not been well exploited, and therefore we are looking at the bottlenecks as to why we are not collecting as we are supposed to collect, and filling these gaps. So if we get the valuation rule, our revenue at the land rates sector will automatically go up. Also, we have not been, in the previous years, we have not been collecting money from the border sector. But you see now, we have brought them on board, had conversations with them, and actually decided to involve them in revenue collection. So we agreed that they will give us representatives of the border sector to be among our revenue clerks. So these people now help us to collect revenue from the border team. And
that's
it's
clever.
actually
You bribe
working.
them to help you.
It's not really
It's
bribing.
working, I know.
Because they are also residents of our county, and they are also deserve an equal chance at serving in the county government. If that is the situation, they help us to collect this revenue, and actually they are among our best performers. We've also come up with measures like setting targets to our revenue clerks, so that now we have the main target of 340 million. We ensure that out of this 340 million, each and every revenue clerk has a target which they are supposed to achieve. At departmental level,
yes,
various departments have various revenue streams. So departments have also been tasked to form revenue teams in their own departments and work hand in hand with the finance department, so that the revenue collection is not a function of the finance department alone. The departments are also supposed to be keen on ensuring that in their own departments they are working towards ensuring that they collect revenues and to resurrect the revenue streams that have not been really performing very well. And we are seeing quite some tremendous change.
Our time is far much spent. Our viewer is wondering whether you want to talk about unpaid bills. What is the pending bills? What are the numbers like? Maybe we conclude with that. Do we know how much we owe suppliers of Vihiga County, and what are the plans to paying those bills?
Yeah, we know how much we owe the suppliers. At the start of this financial year, we had a pending bill of 1.4 billion shillings. And in order to be able to address this issue about pending bills, the county government allocated 530 million shillings towards the payment of pending bills for this financial year alone. The next coming financial year, the payment plan that has been made is a 3-year payment plan period. So the next coming financial year, we've allocated 510 million shillings towards payment of pending bills. Then the final lot will be able to be availed in the 2025-2026 financial year, with allocation of over 400 million shillings to be able to clear. But not only that, towards addressing pending bills, about just allocation of payment of money to the budget towards payment of pending bills, we also having mitigation issues or measures to be able to curb the growth of pending bills, and that is to ensure that all the procurements are done within time, so that every financial year we are able now to cross over with 0 pending bills, starting from this financial year. So once we get the 0 pending bills from this financial year, then the target of 1.4 billion shillings being cleared in the financial year 2025-2026 is achievable. Yeah.
So when we pay this, we are not growing with what we owe this year. This year we are at 0, but then we are paying extra for last, right? But then question comes into mind about waivers. Do we have waivers, and what are we waiving, and who is the beneficiary?
On the issue of waivers,
remember, we're supposed to raise this money. So when we talk about waivers, there are sectors which we encourage to pay taxes, but then we also tell them there are this strange term called waivers. Do we have that in Vihiga in the first place? And who are the beneficiaries?
A waiver may come in under special circumstances, and the PFM Act gives the CSM Finance powers to come up with these waivers. Actually, waivers may come in place as a way of increasing revenue and not really reducing the revenue.
Okay.
For example,
in English, how do you just?
For example, the issue of the land rates, as I had mentioned earlier, you may find that you have not been paying your land rates for the last 30 years.
Okay.
And therefore, the county government cannot come and bill you all that money. So normally what happens is you may declare that let us start afresh. So please come and start paying your land rates from this year moving forward. So these people that have not been paying, they actually now have the confidence to come and pay. You know, now you start from a very clean slate.
And then it also, when you fail to pay rent, does it attract penalties?
Of course it does. It does attract penalties, and you see now, when those penalties accrue over time, it becomes a huge sum of money. So ourselves, as we are coming up with this valuation rule, we expect that through consultations, if we find it necessary to waive so that everybody starts on a clean slate, we may be able to use that as a way of encouraging our people to start now paying their rates. On other instances, you may find that there are people living with disabilities who, according to the law, they are not required to pay their taxes, and therefore they are exempted. Sometimes you may find a special case, maybe at the hospital, needy case who cannot be able to raise monies to pay in that particular hospital. Now, on humanitarian ground, the county may decide to now waiver that bill so that they allow these people to go home and become productive members of the society.
I need to understand something.
Yeah.
There is exemption.
Yes, there is.
Then there is wavering.
There's exemption.
So when you waiver,
yeah,
and when you exempt, are they one and the same thing, or they're different?
They are different. To exempt is to actually, you are not obliged to pay.
Yeah,
taxes.
you are excused.
You are
Please,
excused.
bye-bye,
Please,
thank you, see you tomorrow, something like that.
Because of some special
Yes.
reasons and circumstances. But when you waiver, you are excused from paying your previous obligations. Yeah.
Or maybe penalties.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the, he mentioned that this year 2024-2025, what are your projections? 340. Where do you want to spend that money?
Now it will be, the money has been already, in the proposed budget.
Yes.
These monies have been proposed to be spent in various departments, various sectors.
And the biggest share will go to?
To health.
Health.
Yeah.
Why health and not education?
Health, because health has got a massive project, and that is the Hospital Plaza, that is supposed to be completed by this end of this calendar year. So it's also taking a huge chunk of money. Again, in that 340 million, the greatest contributor is also going to be the health department. So since there is that aspect of now retention, they retain whatever they produce. That's why now the biggest of it will be able to be retained at the Department of Health.
And what is the CCM sports, youth, women, gender, something like that, doing? Because you don't have a sports facility, and are you not encouraging them, that department, to come up with something nice, to spend 600 million on it? And you are only raising 300.
Yeah. I think maybe to answer that, the Department of Sports and Youth is a very key and vital department, and we have these programs, partners that are coming in, but for them to come in, we need to prove that we are raising enough revenue and also spending what we have budgeted for in a prudent way. So through all these activities of revenue generation and prudent spending, we will then attract partnerships. For example, we have a Kenya Devolution Support Program, which we look forward to having serious county investments. And I know the issue of the sports facility has been mentioned many times, and therefore we may be able to consider that moving forward, because it requires huge sums of money to be able to build this facility. But then, as much as it requires this, there is also the issue of the location of the stadium. You'll find that we have 12 million for building a stadium, but there are various places where the stadium should be built. So we look at all those issues. But I know through KDSP, we should be able to find funds, enough money to be able to invest in this serious county government investment that require huge sums of money, like the hospital plazas, county hospitals, the stadiums, and also the tarmacking of our roads.
Of course, the viewer is just telling me on a message that if you have a healthy county, people participating in sports, they'll not go to the hospital. So that's food for thought. We've come up to the end of the show. Thank you for following the conversation. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for staying with us. The Morning Scoop resumes Tuesday next week. We'll continue talking about matters budget making processes in our region. And next time we'll be having different guests from a different county to talk about it. And I just want to encourage you to stay with us, follow our conversations on YouTube, West TV, Facebook is West TV, on X at West TV_Kenya. You can also follow me at Mr. Kitui on X, Kitui Okwasimiti on the Facebook. And on behalf of Kelvin Kibet, I just want to say thank you and stay tuned. This is CKS. Thank you.